What's up, everybody? Welcome to Simple Songwriting episode 16. Wow. 16 episodes. Very nice. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. In this episode, we are talking about Katy Perry's new album, 143. Kind of an interesting album title. I think it stands for love. It's like her love number. So that's cool. Good for her, I guess. Yeah, so we'll definitely get into that in a bit. We're gonna specifically be talking about the song "Truth," which is a pretty interesting song, for a few reasons. But yeah, before we dig into that, Aubrey, what you been listening to this week?
Yeah. So today is a Friday. Usually we record on a Wednesday, but new Windrose album came out today,
I saw
as
that.
well as a new Texas Hippie Coalition album came out today.
Oh shit.
So that took up most of my listening today. Other than that, I don't think I listened to anything else really much this week outside of probably some Bring Me the Horizon. I did listen to a good chunk of the Pretty Reckless today.
Yeah,
Um, or this week. That's pretty much it. What about you?
I'm gonna be honest. I gotta keep it real. I didn't listen to anything new. This past week, this past week has been ridiculous. It's been very busy. I actually was I don't think this is a spoiler for anybody, but like I was doing I've been working on a few little secret projects for Roland, actually. Without getting into too much detail, I've got a friend who works at Roland, and they just came out with a new plugin, and they needed some. They were seeing if they could get like some promo videos using the plugin. So I've been making music the past week and a half. So that's been fun. But aside from that, it's also the beginning of the month, and my job gets really crazy. So yeah, it's been a crazy week, but I haven't gotten the chance to listen to anything new aside from this wonderful Katy Perry album.
Oh yeah, I guess I should say I listened to that album too.
Yeah, eh, look, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's eh. All right. Let's get in there then, since we got nothing new. Is there any new like music news that happened this week?
Not that I'm aware of. Oh, 3 Days Grace? No, not
Yeah,
3 Days Grace.
3 Days Grace.
Um, was it 3 Days Grace? Yes, I was thinking of Three Doors Down. 3 Days Grace. Original singers back in the band.
I saw that. That's very cool. I'm not gonna lie, I have not kept up with 3 Days Grace at all since like 2009. So
I don't really keep up with them. Mike sent me the article, but I've seen them live a couple times. They're pretty good live.
yeah, I can see that. I mean, they had good songs, but I just yeah, they were one of those bands that kind of for me kind of came and went in my life. Uh, but yeah, that's cool. That's good for them. That's nice. Actually, that made me think of another thing. Eminem released the video for Temporary. Did you hear about this or see it?
Uh-uh. I
Um,
still haven't listened to like his extended stuff yet.
no, Temporary was on the album. It was the song that he wrote for Haley with Skylar Grey.
Interesting. Yes, yeah, we talked about it. Well, I was just saying in general, like I haven't listened to the
Oh, that's fine. Well, spoiler
yeah.
alert for the music video. It was all basically a big homage to Haley and him and his relationship with Haley. But Haley is pregnant. Eminem.
I did see that.
You did see that? Okay, yeah. Eminem is
Yeah,
going to
I
be a
didn't know it was in
granddad.
relation. I didn't know it was in
Yeah.
relation to that per se.
Yeah, it was in the
But
it was in the video. Grandpa Eminem. Crazy, crazy times we're living in,
Grandpa
right? Cool. Well, yeah, I think that's about it. That's all that's been going on. All right, hey everybody. Hey everybody, we're back. Audio glitches and all that, but we're here. We were just about to get into the new Katy Perry album. So yeah, let's talk about the album. Well, I think we can't, so we did an episode on Women's World, a few weeks back. I think we both agreed it was not a great song. Maybe we had different opinions on how on the level of badness it was, but I think we were
Yeah, I
I
think
you go.
so. I have a different perspective now. Um, I want to know, and obviously we'll never know. I would be curious to know how that song would have been received if there was no music video for it, because I really feel like that's what did it in more than anything else.
I think the music video was like the nail in the coffin for that, but I'm telling you, man, that shit went viral like with the first clip where she did, the sexy confident, like just that alone, that was
That's
viral on
true. I
TikTok.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm telling you, like that. But here's what I will say after listening to the full album, because that is like the first song on the album. She couldn't have picked a worse song. Every other song on this album, in my opinion, is better than Woman's World. Um, I don't know what you thought, but I was listening through this album thinking, what was she thinking making Woman's World the single? Like any of these songs, like the Gimme Gimme with 21 Savage,
I like Gimme Gimme.
I liked Gimme Gimme. I'm going to say this. I don't think that any of these songs are like amazing by any stretch. Like they're all pretty meh, like whatever, mediocre pop. But I
Yeah,
don't think that they are like the hot garbage that I thought Woman's World was. I thought Woman's World was an objectively, still do think Woman's World is an objectively bad song. I think it's a very poorly written piece of music. The music is lame and boring. There's no theme to it. I don't like that song. But a lot of these other songs are actually like, at the very least, normal, decent songs. They're not like, I mean, here's the thing. I don't think that they're breaking any boundaries creatively. I don't think that they're like blowing anyone's socks off, but they're at least like cohesive songs. They're not the worst shit I've ever heard. So
to
that
me, to me, I was gonna say, like, to me, the album's just very mid. This is like, to me, this is an album that if Dead Mouse featured Katy Perry on all of his songs, this is what it would be like.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good way of putting it. And maybe let me phrase it like this. When we talked about Women's World, we compared it to Ariana Grande. And the difference the distinction between those two projects was Ariana Grande's to me was like your middle of the road, inoffensive, just sludge, right? Like it wasn't bad, but it's just bland. I thought Women's World was objectively bad for a lot of reasons. But this album as a whole, I think is, like you said, it is actually very mid and more like that Ariana Grande album, which surprises me. I was expecting this album to be terrible, which I mean, it is, to me, I don't know, making a mid album like this, when you're as big and as Katy Perry and you have all of the resources available to you, like that's still pretty bad. And I'm gonna talk about this when we talk about Truth, but I would expect way more from Katy Perry. Um, but still, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's the fact that it's mid is almost a compliment in this scenario. So yeah, very interesting times. But yeah, Gimme Gimme, because that's the thing. I listened to Gimme Gimme and I was like, oh, this is actually like a cool little beat. Like it's not too bad. And 21 Savage sounds pretty good on it too.
I did not like 21 Savage's contributions. I did really like the beat.
Here, hold on. I'm
Gimme
gonna you
Gimme
said
Gimme might be my favorite song on the album.
Let's see. Yeah, like that's a cool beat. Can you hear that?
No, but it's okay. I know the song well enough.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because it was between Truth and Gimme Gimme. I was very close to picking Gimme Gimme for the song for us to like talk about in depth. Um, but Truth has some interesting stuff on there that I just want to talk about. Um, I thought Gorgeous was pretty good too. I'm looking through the track list. Gorgeous featuring Kim Petras. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was at least like it was all right. Um, I'm his, he's mine. I think that's like the next single. Um, Again, kind of mid. Crush was kind of mid. I was not. It's funny because Lifetimes was the second single that she released, and I think that's probably the second worst song on the album after Women's World. I don't know. What did you think of that one, or what did you think of any of the ones that just listed?
I didn't actually know she ended up releasing other singles. I didn't keep up with it like that.
Yeah, she was. It was very kind of like. I feel like after Woman's World, the media just kind of stopped covering this album as a whole.
I think I think Lifetimes was fine. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I'm gonna second.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
no,
the
that's
one I think
fine.
it is. This reminds me of Persona 5 song.
Oh yeah,
The intro. Bum, bum, but did you play Persona 5?
I did for a little bit, but I kind of stopped.
Yeah, it just sounds very Persona 5-ish.
I could see that.
I would say my favorite songs off the album were probably Gimme Gimme, Truth, Artificial, and Wonder. Not that
Yeah,
Wonder was great. I just really thought it was creative how they did that I don't it's not a pitch shift, but like the shift from like the young girl to adult.
yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about Wonder because that was kind of a. Well, we'll get to that one. Yeah, I think those first few songs I thought were very like, aside from Gimme Gimme, which I actually thought was pretty solid. The other songs were just whatever, just kind of bland pop songs. But honestly, you know what song really stuck out to me was All the Love. I don't know why, but I was listening to that song and I was like, dang, like I'm actually like feeling this. Like I'm actually kind of digging it, which I wasn't expecting at all. Um, so yeah, that one was kind of surprising. I really wasn't. I remember not really liking Nirvana. I thought Nirvana was kind of silly. Um, Artificial was cool. It's funny because Artificial has JID on it, which for those of you who don't know, he was also featured on the Eminem song "Fuel" that we covered a few weeks ago as well. So it's kind of interesting.
JID or Jid?
I don't know. I don't know.
I've heard I've heard Jid.
I feel like Jid's just like weird to say, so I prefer JID. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird name, Jid. Call me Jid, dude. Um. Anyway, then we've got Truth, which I will have plenty to say about later. And then Wonder. So yeah, Wonder. I feel like Wonder was meant to be one of the like a throwback to her big anthems. That she made back in the day, like Roar and Firework and all that. Um, I don't really feel like she nailed it, but it was still nice. I will say this: it did seem like a very like positive, crowd pleasing type of song, like a song for everybody. Which is kind of let
Yeah,
me
I can get behind that.
yeah. I feel like okay. Aside from I Kissed a Girl and all that, I feel like Katy Perry had this period of time where she was this very like unifying artist. Like she just made positive music for people. And that's one of the reasons why everybody liked her. And then, but the thing is it's not like her music was super intellectual or like, no one was sitting there saying that she was like a lyrical genius or anything. But, you can't deny that she's a great singer and songs like Firework and Roar are, really awesome anthems, right? I mean, she played them at the Super Bowl. Like you
Right.
can't take
I will
that away
say,
from her.
yeah, I don't think that there's like I don't think this album plays to her like, yes, her musical abilities. as far as like I feel like what she's known for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's kind of weird about it is it's like, and I'll talk about this when we talk about truth, but I just feel like this album is so immature at times. It's so like you compare this because she's how old is she? 38 now, I believe.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm pulling it up real quick. She's 39. It's like this isn't like this isn't the type of album I would expect to hear from a 39-year-old person. This is extremely immature. It's very corny and kind of cringe a lot of the times. It's like the lyrics especially. And so it's confusing like what she and like you said, it doesn't even really play to why people liked her to begin with. Like people liked her being this like she was like a family figure almost, you know? Like children looked up to her and sang her songs. So that's one of the things with like the music video for Woman's World where it's like why are you putting your cleavage all over the place? Like why are you what are you doing? Like you are like a family like you are a figure that little girls look up to and that you know you can take like your 3-year-old or 4-year-old or 5-year-old daughter to your concert and like they sing along with Roar. Like why are you doing that? Why are you writing songs like this? Very confusing. I don't know. Is she going through like a midlife crisis or something? Like it's just weird. So, but yeah, and then as far as her musical abilities go, I think I agree with you there too. Like she's a great singer. Why is she not showing that, you know? I don't know. Confusing album. She's a confusing artist, and especially when you compare her to someone like Taylor Swift, right? Like Taylor Swift gets lots of shit, but you can't deny that Taylor Swift is an amazing lyricist and she writes her own stuff and she has absolutely gotten better as she's gotten older. I really didn't, I remember when she was coming out with like 1989 and Red and those albums, and I remember thinking it was all corny and just girl pop, but like she's kind of transcended that as she's gotten older. And Taylor Swift's not even that old. What is she like 33 now? So it's really I don't know, it's a little embarrassing seeing someone of Katy Perry's renown write songs like this. So, I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can get behind everything you're saying. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I definitely think it is an interesting take, and definitely a different direction. This
One
would be
of
an album I would also expect to kind of be played like at the club. Like you could start this album start to finish. Not that
mhm.
I've ever been to a club, so maybe I'm not the greatest.
You've never been to a club?
No,
What? What do you mean? You've never like been to like a like just a club like where you dance like on the dance floor?
you can find me in the pit, brother. That's the only place you'll find me.
Dang, dude. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, I feel like well, okay, so this brings up another thing, and this is actually a topic I wanted to talk about a little bit today, is the death. I saw an article and it was basically saying Katy Perry's new album and the death of 2010's pop. And I think that that's kind of an interesting, you know, it's an interesting thing to think about, right? Like we've entered a new generation of pop artists, with Billie Eilish and Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan. Like the the kind of like throw your hands in the air and everyone be positive and happy and it's all great and everything's wonderful. Like that was I feel like that was kind of the sound of the 2010s or the vibe of the 2010s. And I mean that's just gone. Like it's just gone now. And I think Katy Perry was a
Dark
big
times we're living in.
yeah, right. Well, it depends on how you think about it, right? I mean, I remember back in the 2010s thinking that all that music was super annoying and like irritating to listen to and like lame. but now all the music is much darker and has a more serious tone to it. And that time seems almost kind of pleasant. And it's like, oh, it was nice back then. We just didn't have a care in the world back in 2013. So, but yeah, but anyway, it's just interesting. It's interesting seeing like, okay, we've now fully left this other decade, to the point where arguably, I wouldn't say she's the biggest star, but she's definitely one of the biggest stars of the 2010s. She can't get more than 15 million views on a music video. It's kind of crazy. Women's World still doesn't have more than 16 million views. I checked the other day. It's crazy. Um, I don't know. I think the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I feel like music as a whole is kind of entering a little bit of a stagnant phase right now. I don't see a whole lot of new creative things happening with it,
Oh, AI.
right? Well, it's funny. I don't know if you saw, I released a solo video on the channel, and
I did. I did.
yeah, and I mentioned AI and was like, a lot of people accused her of using AI in women's world, but I was like, I don't even AI doesn't even write music that bad. Like you had an AI Drake song actually charting, it was a pretty good sounding song too. Um, but yeah, now I feel so. Anyway, my point is maybe we'll start using AI to come up with more interesting, creative music. But yeah, we're just in this whole different era now. The music's just completely different than it was, which is like obviously that's what happens. That's how
Right.
time works. But I do feel like there is this creative stagnation starting to happen. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. I think AI is about to like impact not just music, but like all forms of art slash entertainment, like cinema and all those things for heavily.
Yeah,
And I think it's going to be a transition period,
yeah.
and we're just going to see what happens, I guess.
Well, AI.
I also think,
Mm,
like as a consumer, things are starting to shift a little bit. Um, and that I think that we're kind of getting to the point where we're just tired of crap being released, you know?
yeah, I completely agree. I, I,
Um,
I actually think what you just said is like way like it is. You almost kind of are underselling that point the way you said it. Like that is, I feel like that is something that's happening like everywhere right now, like with TV shows,
yeah.
movies, music, all forms of
Um,
media.
and I was gonna say, like, it's not just one thing. Like, I don't know if you saw Ubisoft
Yup.
talking about Outlaws and
Yup.
how it had underperformed and all this, that, and the other. And it's like it seems to be across all forms of entertainment. And I'm not. This is not AI at this point. Um, I think just the culture in general is like we're tired of just having crap to have crap. Like, give us something with
Substance.
some substance behind it.
Well, yeah, I've actually been keeping really. I've been keeping a close ear on what you were just talking about, the Ubisoft stuff, because and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast in general, was because I was like, I feel like with when you have a video game, right, or even a movie, it's very easy to like pick apart why it's bad. Like a movie can have plot holes, that don't make sense. Like a character can be in one place and then just show up in another place in the next scene unexplained, and that's just bad. Like that's bad filmmaking, you know? And a video game can have glitches and be unplayable, or use the like a company can use the same format for the video game, for 10 years straight, and to the point where it's just lazy, right? But I feel like with music, for whatever reason, music is way harder to pin down in terms of like, this is bad or this is good, right? Um, but I believe that you can. I believe that you can objectively analyze music and you can objectively say it's bad. and like this is not like this is a bad song or this is a bad theme. And in fact, it's funny we're talking about this. We don't need to transition yet because I want to keep talking about this. I think this is actually a good topic, but that's exactly the reason why I chose Truth as the song, is because, spoiler alert, it actually does have a complete theme and like a through line throughout the song, but it's just bad. It's a bad theme. It's a stupid theme. And that's actually what I wanted to talk about. But we'll get into that in a second. But I think what you're saying is super important. Like this idea that, oh, just more content or more shows, more video games, you know, we have so many now. Like sometimes I just browse through
More power, more
more,
Sonic emphasis.
more. Yeah, yeah. But it's funny. It's true though. Like that song. I mean, it's just we just have so many. We have so much media that we can use to entertain us that we're almost like drowning in it to the point where it's like, is any of this even good? Like, what is even like this isn't doing anything for me anymore. Like I don't want to watch a TV show just to watch a TV show. And it's not even it's funny because like back in the day when you only had a few different shows running on television, at least the shows that would run long term, it's like they had to be good, and so they've really focused on the quality. And so you got shows like Breaking Bad or The Office or Friends, which those shows are all varying degrees of quality, but I'd say they're all still better than, like the new Star Wars shows we're getting. At least they made sense and had plots, and characters. But this new stuff, it's like they don't even know what a storyline is or what a character arc is. It's ridiculous. And same with the video games too. I think back to like 2007 when you had maybe like, I mean, you had a lot of games come out that year, but like the big ones were like BioShock, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, Guitar Hero 3, and Halo 3, right? And like there were other games that came out, but there were so far fewer than there are now. And
Yeah.
so like when you bought the game, you had to like everyone was playing it. Everyone was talking about it because there was
They
just,
also all worked
well,
on
yeah.
launch. You didn't have to wait a year for an update.
Oh my god, for real. And that's what I was, about to say too, is every game I just listed was a certified masterpiece. Like incredible games that were coming out back then. And now it's like I don't know, like what is coming out now? What even we have Star Wars Outlaws for one, and that game just looks terrible. There's no way I'm playing that. The new Assassin's Creed Shadows looks terrible. Uh to be fair, we did just come out with Space Marines, and that's awesome. But it's funny because a lot of the feedback I've seen about Space Marines, and I feel this way myself. I actually beat the game over the weekend. Is it feels like a throwback to 2007 or 2008, like Gears of War. It's just a really good game. Like there's no weird political messaging. There's no like I, it works. First off, it works at launch. There's a single player campaign that I can just play by myself and enjoy. I don't feel like I have to deal with the live service stuff or keep playing for. It just feels like, hey, here's a video game. Here's a story, a campaign that you can play. There's multiplayer modes if you want to, but you don't really have to play them if you just want to do the story. It's cool and fun, and you can select your difficulty, and that's it. Like it's not more complicated than that. It's like, wow, and who would have thought? It's like a winning formula.
You do a good job, they will come.
Right? So that's what's funny is like I think you might have made me rethink what I was saying earlier about we're hitting this point of stagnation. It's not necessarily that we're hitting a relative point of stagnation, right? In terms of the quantity of things that we have. Like I think we're used to I think back to like maybe 2017, 2018. Like I was watching tons of shows and movies and playing lots of different newer games, around that time. And that was kind of like this period of time where like there was all of this stuff coming out, and I feel like we've hit, I don't know what you call it, peak velocity or whatever on entertainment being released. to the point where it's unsustainable, and I don't even have the time and the energy to play through everything or watch everything. And you really have to be more selective anyway, and you don't even want to because it's all bad anyway. So whatever.
Yeah.
I'm ranting like an old man now, but back in my day, we had Mass Effect.
Hey, we grew up in what will
Golden.
probably be the golden slash platinum age era of gaming.
I completely agree because we still had. Here's the thing: we could still go back and play like the older games, like the older Final Fantasies or,
Yeah.
Resident Evils and
Well,
stuff.
I picked up Master Chief Collection again, and I've been playing some online and going through some campaign missions of like Halo 3.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, oh, this
so
is
so good.
so good.
Yeah, Space Marines
What
was.
the heck happened?
Yeah, I've been replaying the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and I'm doing Chain of Memories now, and it's funny because I remember so many people like hated Chain of Memories, but I'm like, yo, this play like compared to some of the other games I've seen, this plays so well. The mechanics are really strong. The story is interesting, and it's got like, I mean, it's obviously like a children's story, but like it's still a very interesting plot. And I mean, I played the first Kingdom Hearts as well, and that game certainly hasn't aged as well as like others, but it's still a solid game. There's so much exploration and things to do. It's amazing that you could have just bought that game and it works at launch, and it came out 20 years ago, and I can do more in that game from 20 years ago than I can do in some of the games now. It's baffling. um
Yeah.
God, Halo was so good, man. Jeez Louise, the fact that they released Halo Infinite without Forge. Have they ever come out with Forge mode for Halo Infinite?
Um, I think so. I haven't touched that game in forever, dude.
Man,
And I definitely wouldn't touch it to play Forge.
right. Well, I remember I waited purposefully for like 2 years to play it just because I was like, I don't want to. I don't know. I just didn't want to. And Halo 5 sucked. So I was just like, ugh. But I went back and played it, and I remember they still didn't have Forge mode. It just had like you go to the main menu and it's just campaign and multiplayer. And I remember like, you had like ODST where you had campaign, multiplayer, firefight, forge mode, custom games. Like it was nuts, dude. It was nuts all the shit you could do in a game back then. Crazy stuff.
Halo Infinite does have Forge now.
When did it come out? I'm curious. When did the game release and when did
Nice.
Forge come out?
Hold on. The Halo Infinite released December 2021.
Okay. Cool, cool. That's when Forge should have been
Uh,
released. December.
Forge
What's my
came out. Um, bum, 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 bum.
I believe in you. You can do it.
Ooh, Halo Waypoint. Surely that'll be.
Forge release. December
I
2021.
I can't find an exact date, but it looks like 2023
Crazy.
somewhere.
Over a year, at least a year. It's insane. So yeah, and that's so funny too because it's a sequel. Like we're not even talking about like a new game or a new franchise. It's a sequel. Copy and paste the. I know you can't. I know it's more complicated than that, but it's just like, how can Halo 3 in 2007 release with Forge mode at launch, and Halo 5 or Halo Infinite can't? Anyway, we've gotten way off topic. Are you still there?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Point being, just to kind of bring it back around. I think yeah, I think everyone's tired of mediocre bad stuff. Um so that kind of, we really need to talk about that, like what actually makes something good. Um Maybe we'll do that in another episode, but I think this episode I really want to talk about what makes something bad, like what makes a song bad and a theme bad. Because unless you've got anything else to say about the album as a whole, I think we can jump into the song.
It was November 8th, 2022 for Infinite Forge.
So almost a full year. Almost a full
Yeah,
year.
and that's just from an NME article. If it got delayed after that, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh no, that was the Forge beta.
Oh my god. I knew that. I
Okay,
remember it being like
it doesn't matter. Too long is
too
the
long,
answer.
unacceptably long for a
We
Halo
need
game.
we need to talk about the song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Luckily there's not I don't think we'll spend as long as on the song. I really want to talk more about like this theme thing. Um because yeah, okay, so let's talk about this song Truth. So here's the big point that I want to make is that a song can be objectively bad. And I think just that statement alone, like I think people have a really hard time with that. It's like, well, everyone has different interpretations of art, and everyone, what if somebody likes it? It's like, that's fine.
I'll even go as far to say I have a hard time with.
I know, and I actually, I get it. Like that statement is very controversial, but I feel very strongly about it, and I think that this is actually one of those things that we need to start like. Let me put it this way: I want to change people's minds on this. I want to change people's minds on this because I think I'm right, and I think because we keep not applying like standards to the music, like not just saying that's a bad song or like that's a like that's a stupid lyric or that's a badly written melody or those are that's a bad theme, it's a shallow theme, because we don't actually like apply standards to our music keeps getting worse, and it keeps getting more and more mid and more mediocre. But even more than that, even worse than that, we lose out on like the creative aspect of what makes something good, right? Because that's a whole separate thing. But essentially what I'm saying is like if we can't identify like the shallowness and the bad stuff in our music, then it becomes really hard for us to know how to supersede that and make something that's really really great, right? So like let's do our Avenged Sevenfold reference. Like if Avenged Sevenfold back in 2005 couldn't identify what like a good melody versus a bad melody was, and like what an interesting song structure was versus like a generic bland song structure, they wouldn't have been able to write City of Evil. Like they just wouldn't have been able to do it. And because they understand like the fundamentals of songwriting and like what goes into it and what goes into good lyrics and impactful melodies and all of that, they're able to supersede those pitfalls and actually write great melodies and great lyrics because they know what like bland or mediocre lyrics are. But in order to get to that point, we have to actually be willing to say that's a bad lyric. That's a bad song. That's a bland song objectively. Like that's not interesting, you know? And we got to start pointing it out when we see it. Um but again, that's a tough sell. That's a tough sell for a lot of people because I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand with music because I feel like we can do it, like you just said, like we can do it so easily with a video game or a movie, but the second it comes to music, I don't know. You tell me your reasoning. Why don't you think you can have like an objectively bad song?
Um, that's it's tough because I like at the same time see your point and perspective, but also like what's good and bad is just the definition of subjective, right? Like, why do you like pie, and why do I hate pie?
Right,
You know,
but we can agree that there is such a thing as a badly cooked pie. Like
true, true.
if you have a pie and you leave it in the oven for 45 minutes longer than it should be, and it comes out and it's burnt to a crisp, and then there's like one guy who's high and he eats it and he's like, oh my god, this is the best pie I've ever tasted. Do Are we
Well,
not, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, then let me change it to if apple pie versus pecan pie is which is the best pie, right?
but
Like, if you say pecan pie is bad versus you think apple pie is bad.
well, so again though, I see what you're saying, but to me that would be like comparing like a solid rap song to a solid rock song. It's like I might not like rap, And so I might not understand what makes a rap song good or bad, but there is still such a thing as an objectively bad rap song. Even if I don't understand rap and I think that, like, oh, I don't really like that rap song, if you don't understand the genre and you don't understand what goes into it and like what makes it good or bad, it's like, well, I see what you're saying. And it's,
Think right. So my next follow-up would be, you know how you really like to eat your steaks hard like a brick, and the vast majority of the world does not?
yeah, but okay, so
Like,
good point. But
there's
here's the thing.
always gonna be somebody that likes that song in
Right.
the world somewhere. It might not be the vast majority of people, but there's always going to be a fan base. It's more I think about being widely appealing and or knowing how to get to your fan base, you know?
Fair enough.
Because
But
the follow-up to that is think of all the people that write good music, but aren't successful in the music industry.
well, so here's the thing. I see exactly what you're saying, but let's take a step back. Even if I like my steaks, which actually, by the way, I eat them medium well now, just so you know.
That's very good from the well done.
um, here's the thing. Even if I prefer my steaks well, like even if I prefer metal music over rap or pop or country, right? Like I can still be objective and say like I can still use objective metrics to say like, okay, this still looks like a good steak that is medium or rare. It looks like a good rare steak. And like by all metrics of what a rare steak is supposed to be, this is a solid rare steak. Even if I don't personally enjoy or like rare steaks, I can still say that that is a good rare steak, or the
Right.
consensus of people can agree to some extent that like this is what a rare steak should be and this is what we like. But
So I think
you can have a bad rare steak, like if it's seasoned
so I
poorly or the meat is
well, so
shitty.
right. So hear me out. Okay, so I'm glad you said that. So I think the issue is theoretically,
Mhm.
if we assume that all songs that are made consist of the same components, right? Of like an intro, chorus, melody, outro. Like I know that's, like a general criteria,
Right.
but if every song ever made was made hypothetically with that criteria, it's the same argument you just made of like, well, the song has an intro, this, and this. I just don't prefer that to this song that has this, and this.
Well, I disagree because there's so many other elements that go into it. Like, for example, you can say what you just said is more about the song structure and the comparison. If we're going to keep using steaks as a comparison, the comparison would be that I made my steak out of meat, right? So if I write a song, yes, I have a song structure and I made a pretty normal song structure. So it's like, yeah, I had a piece of meat and I put it on the stove and I grilled it. And that's how I created my rare steak. But you could have spices, you have salt and pepper, you could have, butter. There's
Right.
all these things that you can do to make that steak more interesting. And in fact, the more accomplished of a chef that you are, the more creative and willing to take risks with your steak. Like maybe you'll add some onions on top or some bacon or something like that. And your job as the chef is to take these more complicated elements to the steak and still make it good and appealing to, and not, again, you're never going to appeal to everybody. But if most people can come to your restaurant and be like, oh my God, that steak is so good, and the restaurant is successful, it's like, you've got something there. Like there's something good about that. And the best chefs, like when I've watched like cooking shows with Gordon Ramsay, it's
Mm.
crazy. It's like weird to me because I'm not a foodie. Like this, I'm not a foodie,
Yeah.
but I love.
I don't think you can be a foodie and like well done steaks.
It's true. I will openly admit it, but I love listening to Gordon Ramsay talk about food because it's very reminiscent. Honestly, it's very reminiscent to the way that I think about music. He'll sit there and he'll be like, "Oh, I like the way that you put a little hint of sugar there, or like a little bit of, a hint of basalt or whatever the fuck, like he is an experienced chef and he's able to identify all of these elements and appreciate them, right? But at the same time, it might not even be what he prefers, right? Like he might prefer his steak a certain way, but there's this appreciation for the creativity of what someone else will do and like the adventure of it, of trying something new, right?
Right.
So I think it's the same with music. So like if we have, a verse, pre-chorus, chorus song, but let's say that somebody makes their chorus, like let's say that someone plays a whole lot of drums, like let's say in most songs the chorus is more intense than the verse, like in truth, like the
Right.
song we're looking at, the chorus is more intense than the verse. But then, you know so we get used to listening to that, but then somebody says, well, what if I want to make my chorus less intense than the verse? Then that's tricky, because the chorus is supposed to be kind of like this bigger moment in the song where they, it's a bigger moment, but then they have to find some way to make that work. But that's how you get songs like The Unforgiven by Metallica, or what's the Emptiness Machine by Linkin Park, the first chorus when Mike Shinoda, all the drums come out, cut out and everything, and there's just the piano and him singing, right? It's a really impactful chorus, but it's way less intense than the verse, which has drums playing. So what I'm saying is like you can keep to the same song structure, but by messing with those elements in creative ways, you can get something that's more interesting.
So my argument to that would be, what if the song that we are objectively calling bad is just artists creating things in those creative ways you just mentioned, just in a way which you don't prefer?
So I that's actually a good segue. Let's talk about truth, because I think it's objectively bad. So how about this? Instead of doing, because I'm enjoying this conversation,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
instead of doing like a breakdown like normal, let's just, everybody who's listening, go look up the lyrics for Truth. Obviously, if you haven't listened to Truth yet, go and listen to it. We like for y'all to listen before the episode, so that way you understand what we're talking about. But pull up the lyrics and let's just look at some of these lyrics, right? And let's talk about them. Because here's what I will say about Truth. I think that the music, not too shabby. It's actually pretty decent. The drum beat is pretty cool. Here, I'll play a little bit of it so that the people can listen. People listening can hear it. But listen to the drum beat here. That's Gimme Gimme. Hold on.
I was gonna say.
Right here. It's a pretty standard drum beat, actually. I think it's been during the verse where things get a little more interesting. Here, listen here. And also listen to the bass line here. I think the bass line's pretty cool. Right here. Pop it up. So yeah, they do get a little bit funky with the drum, like I don't know, whatever, like, little extra snare in there. But the bass line is pretty cool. That like little, like that is an interesting sounding bass part, and it's better than not having anything there, right? So I can say like I can still compliment something and say that sounds interesting. It's an interesting bass line to listen to. The drum beat is pretty bland, but like it's pretty standard. It's just so there's not too.
The whole song is very basic.
Exactly. So the whole song is very basic, and the fact that we can agree on that, the fact that we can say that, okay, it's basic, it's because we know, like, we've heard songs like this a million times. It doesn't take, it's not a revolutionary song. But let's look at some of these lyrics, right? Like, let's talk about it, because this is the big point, is like the theme and like, what is this? So the song starts off with, I want to know the truth, even if it hurts me. So right off the bat, that's our theme. Like that is the theme of the song, is I want to know the truth, even if it hurts. Again, this is a very bland. So actually, let's talk about the implementation of this theme and the pros and cons. So the pro is we set the theme up really early, so we know what the theme is and we can view the song with that lens, right? You can say that that's a pro. I don't know. But then we get into the con of that, is that we have immediately spelled out the theme. There is no interpretation required to understand what this song is about. She literally tells us. So as far as like art goes, to bring it back to what we were talking about, like objectively bad, I think that this is lazy. This is objectively lazy. Like, you are not supposed to tell your audience what the theme is. They're supposed to figure out the theme. That's the whole point of the theme. The theme is the message of the art. So the note I put here is like, compare it to like Afterlife, right? At no point do you really like something like Afterlife, the theme there's lots of different themes. Actually, there's themes of like making the best of your life on earth while you have it before you die, right? Or learning to let a loved one go, things like that. But it's presented in this way where you can kind of interpret that on your own using your own brain power, by him saying things like, I've got so much left to do on earth. I didn't get to accomplish all the things I wanted. My loved ones are still missing me. I wasn't the person I wanted to be. It's like, okay, not being saying like, oh, I wasn't the person that I wanted to be when I was alive. That's not really a theme. That's more of like how he's feeling. The theme is make which again, remember, the theme is like the message of the art. The theme is make the most of your life while you have it, because in real life you don't get that chance. You don't get the chance to like die and then talk to God or whoever in the afterlife and then come back. Like when you pass away, that's it. So you need to make the most of your life while you have it, right? But you can interpret that, and Avenged Sevenfold doesn't spell that out for you. So I think this would be one of the first points, like just from the very first line. Even though this song has a theme, which like Women's World kind of didn't, I'll compliment this song for having a theme at all. I think it's lazy writing and lazy lyricism to put the theme up front like this and to spell it out for the audience. I think it's objectively bad. Your turn. Combat that.
Um, so first of all, I would say I think that Woman's World does have a theme. I think everything has to have a theme. Like you can't just not have a theme. It's I think impossible to not have a theme.
Well, okay, fair enough. Women's World's theme was
Um,
women are great.
yeah. Um, so I agree with your statement in the sense of like it does not leave anything up to the imagination. And I think that that's perfectly fine. I don't think I think this is a good point to bring up, and actually I was going to bring this up earlier. How and we kind of talked about this last week when we were talking about like the albums that'll like stand the test of time, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about albums that kind of push limits, and then albums that are there to just kind of vibe to.
Yeah,
And you've said multiple times how like you have a strong preference for music that is always pushing the limits and boundaries and blah 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 blah.
yeah.
This album definitely fits into the vibes category, in my opinion.
So
Um,
real quick, I think that's actually, and I had mentioned, I had said this is actually something I really want to talk about too. Is that so? Let's talk about vibes. Let's talk about vibe music and like what
okay, well
is it? Yeah.
let me finish my point, then
Oh
we
yeah.
can talk
Sorry.
about
Sorry.
vibes. No, 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 you're good. And so what I was gonna say is I would say that the vast majority of music listeners in the world are not there to have their boundaries be pushed. They're just there to vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so kind of go back to what we said, talking about like the album is just very mid. Um, it is definitely safe. No pushing of boundaries, but I don't think that makes it bad. Um, talking about all the elements we just discussed about the song with the drums, the bass, and the lyrics.
Okay.
Uh,
So I see what you're saying. So here would be my rebuttal to that, is that I don't think that having a an intelligent theme and like a mature story is boundary pushing. To me, that's like that should be almost like the standard. And I understand. So like, I think the obvious rebuttal to that would be like, well, what if the music doesn't even have lyrics, you know? And
Well, so my next suggestion for a song before we had this conversation, I thought of this when I was listening to the Katy Perry album,
Mhm.
was we should do like uh, a Dead Mouse song or like a Skrillex song that has no lyrics and break it down.
I would be totally down to do that. But I'll probably say something similar to what I think I'm about to say, which is I think that music, kind of like art, like pictures and paintings, I think music can set a scene as well. And I don't think it has to be boundary pushing the scene that it sets, or not just set a scene, but it can also, you know, tell a story or create a unique vibe, right? I don't think that having that done in an interesting way is necessarily boundary pushing. So let's talk about instrumental music maybe next episode because I think that'd be a really interesting topic. Um, it's one that I really like, especially as like a fan of Polyphia, right? Like Polyphia is one of my favorite bands, and like there's a lot to talk about with instrumental music. But in terms of like, I think the main point I want to make is that having like a smart theme and presenting it smartly isn't the same as like pushing boundaries. Like you could have this song that you could have this exact same music, exact same vocal melodies, and have smarter lyrics and smarter presentation of the theme, and I'd be complimenting it. Like I'd be saying this is really well done. And I think a good example of that is someone like Taylor Swift, where like you could give Taylor Swift this song and this beat or something like it, and the things that she can do with that lyrically are infinitely more impressive than this, right? And you can still vibe to that. It doesn't, millions of people do vibe to that, right? So I don't, so the main point is there's a difference between like pushing a boundary on what a song can be. I think that like an album like I don't know, like Oingo Boingo or Dream Theater or Avenged Sevenfold, like those are artists that push the boundaries of what a song can be. And like, you know, we mentioned more. Like we love you. Like that's a very boundary pushing song in my opinion, for a lot of reasons. And that's not really a song. That's a song that's difficult to vibe to, and I would agree with that. But you can still have intelligent music and intelligent lyrics without it not being a vibe.
I agree.
Dang, so quick. You just dropped your whole point.
Sorry, hold that thought. Second.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Bailey was texting me.
All good.
Um, I don't really feel like that's the same point I was trying to make. Like, I agree that you don't have to do all those things to be pushing boundaries per se, or to be considered like. I think of
Well,
the Avenged Sevenfold songs that are a vibe. I don't think Afterlife fits that, but I would say Almost Easy does.
well, so here, hold on though. Let's take it back, and maybe not Avenged Sevenfold as an example, but let's use like Taylor Swift as an example, and let's use Down Bad, like Down
I
Bad by
won't
Taylor
lie,
Swift. What?
I'm not familiar with that song or that most recent album.
Oh, I thought you said you liked it. Down Bad?
I've not heard. I've not heard it.
Man, I'm thinking of someone else then. Do you know Antihero?
Not very well.
Dang. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Regardless, it helps to have examples, but I'm just gonna run with it. So let's bring it back to like the main point I was making about the first line, where she just gives the theme away, right? Like I don't think that she needed to do that in the with the lyrics. Like instead of saying I want to know the truth, even if it hurts me, which is again just blatantly explaining the theme of the song. She could have said something like, you know, what's going on in your head? You know, I can't like or something's wrong here and I'm going to figure it out. I don't know. Like anything other than I want to know the truth even if it hurts me. Like that is the theme. So my okay, sorry. I'm getting all over the place. My point is do you not think that it's objectively kind of silly to explain the theme right up front, or that it couldn't be done better and still keep the vibe aspect?
Um, Good question. Trying to slowly go through my whole entire catalog of songs in my brain right now
Yeah.
to think of an example.
So let me see. If we pull up, like,
Uh,
I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
I mean, my gut reaction is like I think you could. I don't think you have to state all the things. Like I think you can be a vibe and still kind of mysterious, I guess, or not as black and white about it, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk about another song. I've got a good example which might explain what I'm talking about. Okay.
Hmm?
Thank You by Dido.
Okay.
You know the song?
Probably.
It
I
is
know Dido.
it is the sample from Stan.
Okay, then yes.
My tea's gone cold. I'm wondering why I got out of bed at all. The morning rain clouds up my window and I can't see it all. And even if I could, it'd all be gray. But your picture on my wall, it reminds me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad. The chorus of that song is the and I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. So it's like I guess the point I wanted to make is that verse starts off, which it's funny because this verse was taken and put as the chorus of Stan by Eminem. But
Mhm.
instead of just coming out and saying, like, I've had a really bad morning, it's been a miserable morning and I feel bad. She says, my tea's gone cold. I'm wondering why I got out of bed at all. The morning rain clouds up my window and I can't see it all. And even if I could,
Yeah.
it'd all be gray. It's like, that's art. Like, that's lyricism.
Yeah.
And so you can paint this picture and still explain, like, I've had a bad day. And then the funny thing is that she actually kind of so let's think about the chorus where she says, and I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. Oh, just to be with you is having the best day of my life. It's like, would you consider that a theme? I don't know if I would or not, but what do you think? Like, is there a theme in those lyrics?
So, um, I think okay, so I think that this song is a vibe, but not because of lyrics, versus a pushing boundaries song.
Yes, I would agree.
Two, I think. Ask your theme question again. Sorry.
So the chorus of the song, so the whole point of this song is like, I've had a bad day,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but
And like they're saying,
my
like, thank
partner
you. Yeah,
yeah, like my partner reaches out and she's saying, I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. Oh, just to be with you is having the best day of my life. I guess this isn't 100% relevant to our conversation, but I'm just
yeah.
curious if you would consider that the theme.
I
It,
think
okay,
I
I
think
would,
my answer is yes
yeah, I think I would say
because
kind of, but give your
it's
answer.
yeah. I mean, I think we're in the same boat of like I think initially. But I think there's two arguments that can be made here. So if we, I think the first argument that can be made is oh, I think most people want to think this song is about having a bad day,
Hmm.
but actually it's about thank you. And then we get to the theme when she says thank you, and the title of the song's name is Thank You. So therefore she is spelling it out.
Well, I think
You know what I'm
so.
saying?
Yeah, I think that the theme of the song, like, so again, if we think about the theme as being like the message of the song, right, or the message of the art, it's like the message of the art is to like is appreciate the people around you, or like the people around you can brighten even like the worst day or something, right? Because the whole setup of the song is like, I'm having this terrible day, and like by all metrics I should be having a bad day, but because I'm with you, I'm having the best day of my life, right? Like that's kind of the
Right.
story that's happening. So the theme, like what you would take away from it, is like the people that you love can brighten up even like the worst day. So I think that I would say like half and half, like she kind of spells that out a little bit. Like, oh, just to be with you is having the best day of my life. Like that kind of spells it out, but it doesn't, I don't think it encompasses like the full theme of like, even if you're having a bad day, like the people you love can make it better. Anyway, the point I'm making, the fact that we can even discuss it is almost the point I'm making, is like this song is still very much a vibe. It absolutely is. Like I love listening to this song. It's really nice. Um, but the theme is presented in a really smart way. Like if you listen to the music during that verse, like I gotta, here, we could probably listen to it actually. It's actually very like somber, almost sad chords, and like her melody is sad and it's all kind of depressing, and that's why like Eminem chose it. But then like the flip to the chorus is very positive and happy, and so it's like she's presenting that theme of like, yeah, I'm sad, I'm having a melancholy bad day, but now I'm happy because I'm actually having the best day of my life because of you, and I want to thank you for that. Like my whole point is that you can have that vibe but still make the song smart and, you know, artistic, and you see what I'm saying? And I think the broader point, going back to the original stuff that we were talking about, is that this is something that we've kind of lost in a lot of our music now, is this idea that we can present something in a better way. But I think the first thing that you've got to do is point out like, well, before we even go there, what do you think about what I just said though?
But what's part
About
specifically?
specifically like, I think, well, let's finish talking about the Dido song. Do you agree or disagree that like this song is still a vibe but presents its theme in a much better, like a more intelligent way that's actually more artistic and interesting?
So I think it depends on how the listener perceives the theme. If you're perceiving the theme as a listener of, oh, I'm having a bad day, um, then maybe kind of yes, but I don't think that's the theme
But
because I think, th- but to me, the theme is thanking your partner for having a good day. So is it presented more artistically? I think yes and no, with a slight tilt towards no because the title of the song is "Thank You."
well, but wait, you don't think that this is presented in a more
Is
artistic way?
is slightly like with a slight tilt, like yes and no.
Okay, so hold on though. Hold on. So
Yeah,
here's kind of my point, is that this song, the theme is thanking your partner. The whole point of this song is I'm having a bad day, but your
right,
picture on my wall reminds me it's not so bad. And
right,
then the kind of thematic climax during the chorus is when she says, I want to thank you for making my day not so bad. And in fact, just being with you actually makes me have the best day of my life, despite how bad all the other stuff is.
right.
So I, here's the thing. I think it's much more interesting to start a song off, like start a piece of art off with like explaining, oh, my tea's cold and I'm wondering why I got out of bed, and my it's
Yeah,
raining outside, it sucks. But you know what? Your picture reminds me it's not as bad. And then in like the second part of the verse actually says like, and then you call me and it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And it's like, I think that that's a way more interesting, because then you're actually thinking about the song and you're like, oh yeah, like you're going along that journey with her to a degree. And so
yeah, I can get behind that.
the point I'm making is I think that that's way more fulfilling, and I'm going to say objectively better songwriting and lyricism than to flat out say I want to know the truth even if it hurts me. It's like, cool. Well, we know what the song's about now. Like I guess we can just turn our brains off. I mean, you just spelled it out for us. It's like what if Dido started the song literally beginning of the song with I'm having a bad day, but you make it not so bad. It's like, well, all right, we know what the song's about. We don't. There's no journey to go on anymore, you know. Maybe she could do that with the same music and everything, and people would still like it. But I don't think it would be as good as what she did, and that's kind of my point. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, do.
It's okay, Aubrey. You can say it's bad. You can do it. It's okay.
I just don't think it's bad. I just think it's there.
Okay. Do you think it's better or worse than what Dido did? Come on.
Um,
Come on.
again, I think it goes down to the listener, right?
No. I
Do
think
I do I think that Dido is more artistic in this specific example? Yes. Do I think some people also want to not have to think about their songs or get some kind of Uno reverse halfway through their song when we find out the theme is actually thank you, not how bad your day has been? Yes.
well, yeah, but here's the thing though, is that just because somebody doesn't want to think about the song or doesn't want to like use their brain during the song doesn't nullify the artistry of the song. Like maybe you don't always here's the thing. I don't always want to listen to a song like We Love You or Nobody or even like A Little Piece of Heaven, right? Like I don't always want to listen to an 8 minute epic or some boundary pushing thing, right? Like sometimes
Right.
I just want to listen to something that's a vibe, but that doesn't nullify the artistry of that other stuff, right? And so just because a listener, you know, oh, I don't want to use my brain, or even let me even say it like this, even if a listener isn't aware of like what's happening in the song, like with the stuff about themes and how she sets the lyrics up to be like, oh, I'm having a bad day, but then all the stuff that we're talking about, right? Like even if a listener has never thought about any of that, it doesn't mean that it's not true and it's not what she did, and it doesn't mean that like we can't take that you know or methodology of songwriting and compare it to Katy Perry's and see like, well, which one of these is more fulfilling, which one of these actually resonates more, you know over time and is more artistic.
Mm, excuse me.
Dang.
Um,
Am I putting you to sleep?
no. Um,
But see, okay, let me hold on, let's take a step back. What
uh-huh.
if, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, what if I had, like, what if we take the story of Halo 5? How do you think the story of Halo 5 compares to the story of Halo 3?
I don't remember a lot of it, but it's not as good.
Right. So here's kind of my point, is like when it comes to stuff like the story in a movie or a video game, we can easily say like, yeah, that's bad, or that's not as good, or not as memorable, or whatever. But for some reason, man, music, even, and you can
I
see it in
don't
yourself, it's like, oh, we can't do it with music for some reason.
Right, and I agree, music is different. I would say that another form that this would be challenging for would also be like art gallery stuff.
Right, but
Uh,
even I would agree, but I also think that like objectively speaking, you can take like a Van Gogh and compare it to like a child's, crayon art, and
I don't know. I don't.
no, no, come
Uh,
on, come on.
I bet there's some kids out there who have probably sold some crown drawing.
Yeah, but
Somebody just bought like spent millions of dollars, or I think it was millions. Regardless, a stupid amount of money on literally nothing, because somebody called it art. Like literally air. It
Yeah.
is air.
Okay, perfect. You're actually kind of proving my point there. Is that that's why we have to be able to measure and take some sort of objective metric. So like, is this good or is this bad? Not necessarily, because they would say, "Oh, Aubrey, just turn your brain off and appreciate the emptiness of the
Right.
soul."
Well, I didn't say it was bad.
Dang. Touche.
To be fair, I'm like, I'm not saying, do I think it's a little silly that this person spent whatever amount of money? Yeah. But if it strikes a chord with them, or if it means something to them, who am I to say that they're wrong?
See, and that's where we disagree, because I would say if you have a blank canvas and you present that as your artwork and you just say, ah, yes, it invokes the emptiness of the mind or whatever the fuck, right? I think that that is silly. And that is one of those things where it's like,
So I would follow that up with the keywords you used was think, right?
no, no, no. I would objectively say that that is silly. That is not a good piece of art. You did not accomplish anything. You didn't do anything. There is no artistry there. All of the supposed value or artistic merit is this kind of silly underlying meta meaning that is unrelated to the art itself. Like, you are trying to subvert the artistic process with the like meta meaning. And I don't think that that is the same or even close to equivalent to actually creating a deeper, uh, skillful work of art. So I don't think there's any universe where like a blank canvas or like a red square or whatever is as artistic as a Van Gogh or a Mona Lisa or something like that.
So, I mean, there's definitely a universe out there somewhere where that is true.
And
Um,
that would
but
be
again,
that's called LA. Um,
uh, again, I think you know the argument still always going to be it's it's an opinion of because there are tons of people out there who hate Van Gogh.
I get that, but again, so here's the thing. So let's talk about opinions, and like,
Yeah,
they're like buttholes. Everyone has
yeah,
one, and they
everybody
all
has
stink.
one.
So
Dad joke of the day.
yeah, dad joke of the day. No, here's the thing though, right? Like, everyone has different preferences. That's part of like humanity, right? Like, we all have these different preferences and things that we like and things that we don't like. Coming back to the steak argument, some of us like medium well or even well steaks, and some people think that that's silly, right?
That is silly.
Objectively.
Exactly. That's my point. I don't think it is objective. Like, who
Okay.
am I to shame Cameron for eating bricks,
Right. Okay.
expensive bricks?
So
I
here's the
don't think
thing.
less of you as a human for being in this niche
Are you
category
sure?
of I don't.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
I'm
don't think
joking. I'm joking.
I'm not a fan of icking people's yum, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
if it works
So
for you and that's your thing, cool.
right. So okay, hold on. All right, bringing it back to serious mode. If we're talking about like how everybody has different opinions, and so it's like, okay, there's somebody who is going to think that Truth is the greatest song ever, and it resonates with them so well, they love it so much. Here would be my how can I phrase this? What I would say is, why I would ask them to explain, why do they like it? Like, why do you think that this is the best song ever made? And what about this song, what about its presentation, what about its lyrics are actually like, why is this such an amazing song to you? And
That all comes down to their connection to that song
right, but here's the thing though,
and or
and
their preferences.
yeah, but this is where I think it would start to fall apart, because if they say, "Oh, well, I like the music," and I'm like, "Okay, so that drum beat, do you like that drum beat?" And they're like, "Yes," and I'm like, So remember, this is hypothetically talking to somebody who this is their all-time favorite song, right? I would say, well, so that drum beat and that bass line, okay, here is 20 other songs with the same drum beat and similar bass lines. Why do you not like those as much as you like truth? And what you'll typically get, the answer that you would probably get is, well, it just didn't resonate with me, kind of like you just said, like, well, I don't have the
Right.
same connection to it. And it's like, okay, is your connection based on the song itself, the art itself, or maybe what you were going through at the time and something outside of the art, right?
Right.
And I don't think that that is an acceptable metric for judging the quality of the art. So I'm not saying, just to be clear, I am not saying that people can't like things and that like they can't have a favorite song. Dude, there are people who think that Jay-Z is like better than Eminem. I don't understand it, but that's fine. If I'm not saying you can't like Jay-Z, but what I can do is I could at least sit here and say, well, do you objectively think he's a better rapper than Eminem and why? And we could sit down and we could talk about that and I can explain why I think Eminem is objectively a better rapper than Jay-Z. I could do that because I actually know a lot about the music and rhythms and rhyme schemes and all of that. If the person sitting here telling me, oh, I think Jay-Z is objectively a better rapper than Eminem, can't explain rhyme schemes, can't explain how beats are made or what a beat does or delivery or rhythmic, quality, right? It's like, okay, do you think that you would have the same opinion if you understood more about those things? And uh, like I guess the point that I'm getting at is that you start to iron out like, okay, do you actually appreciate the quality of the song or is it just like, oh, I like it? Because there's a big difference between, judging something objectively and like looking at the elements of it, the rhythms and the melodies and the notes they chose and the song structures and all of that, and just whether or not you like it, because everyone can like everything. That's fine. I'm not maybe to clear up the point I just made. I'm not saying people can't like things. There's always going to be people who like different things. I am
Yeah.
saying, kind of like with steaks, you can objectively measure the quality of a steak. You can objectively say this was a very poorly made steak. It is dry. It is got no seasoning. It's overcooked. Even beyond well. You know, or undercooked, like it's raw, it's like a raw steak. That's
Right.
objectively bad. And so,
So I
but
think,
that's my point though. Yeah.
yeah, I think the hard part, comparing meat to music here is that there is a universally agreed upon criteria to judge meat,
Yes.
slash food in general. I think those universally agreed upon criteria don't exist as well in not just music, but in art in general, right?
100%. And in fact, I
And
think that like part of the nature, I'm going to let you finish, but
I mean that's pretty much my point. I was gonna say like that's
Mhm.
where this gets hairy.
Right. And that's actually one of the reasons why like I've kind of stopped doing it, but like I had that like metrics for analyzing a song, right? That I would do at the end of the first few episodes, where it's like we look
Right,
at the genre and the style, the song structure, the mix, the lyrical content, the themes, those types of things, right? Because those are just like the those are the clearest metrics to me. Like for example, if you're analyzing lyrics, I think the first thing that you should look at are the themes. Like what is the theme? Is it a good theme? Do they present it smartly? Right? Then you can look at
right,
the words that they choose. So like kind of coming back to the Katy Perry song, for example, like the pre-chorus, the first pre-chorus says, "Can't look in the mirror. What is it you're trying to hide? Can't give me your password to your phone and not start a fight." It's like those are dumb lyrics. Like I'm sorry, those are dumb lyrics. Like you can't give me your password to your phone. What are you trying to hide? It's like that is the type of thing that a middle school girl writes and thinks is cool. And then you compare it.
I know plenty of people not in middle school who can relate to those lyrics.
But again, it's like, is that as impactful as my tea's gone cold? I'm wondering why I got out of bed at all. The morning rain clouds up my window and I can't see at all. It's like I
Is it as impactful? It depends on, I think, various life experiences.
well, so okay, so hold on.
Um,
Before we
because what if you had the greatest like lyrics in the world, but the shittiest music behind it? Is it still a good song?
well, I think the fact that well, so hold on. Okay, here's the thing. The fact that we can say, "Oh, that's shitty music" at all is part of my point. There's no such thing as shitty music. If or how can we tell if it's shitty music? What if it's not shitty music?
Right.
So my point is I would say if you have great lyrics but you're singing them really badly and the music is bad and stupid and lame, you're probably not going to have a great song. And I've actually heard songs like that. It's kind of annoying. It's like you have this great, these really smart lyrics but they don't know how to put a song together or they don't know how to put something interesting behind it. Because music is more than just the poetry of the lyrics, right? So like that's a problem and that affects the objective quality of the song. But there might be somebody who loves it because they're like, oh, the lyrics just resonate with me. They touch me so deeply. It's like, okay, you can like it, but then it's like, well, what makes up shitty music, right? Like, what would be considered shitty music? Like maybe the guitar is out of tune or something. It's like, okay, that just sounds bad. But real quick though, to go back, the point I was making because we were talking about like what are the metrics for analyzing a song, um, and like or art in general, and that's not something that is clearly defined. Um, I think that is very true, but I also don't think that the lack of you know clear measuring tools is uh I don't think that it means that you can't do it. I guess that's what I want to say. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Um, I think it would be easier if I don't even know if that's true. What I was gonna say
Mhm.
is I think it would be easier if you created like a little criteria and broke it down by genre and all those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And then if you came up with a legitimate scoring system. But even then, I don't know. Maybe we should try. Maybe we should try.
Well, that's kind of okay. So that's one of the reasons why I made the podcast. That's why
Right, 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 right.
that's what I want to do.
I get that.
I want like here's okay. Let's maybe kind of round this discussion out a little bit. I want
Yeah,
people
we've gotten way off track of our original goal.
no, actually, this was kind of what I wanted to talk about. Really, we just didn't need to. The truth is, there's
You can't handle the truth.
you can't. Well, and okay, so that's a real quick. I do have to leave the like make this quick little note. She says my what does she say? My father told me the truth will set you free. It's like
Set me
that's a
free.
that's a Jesus quote. Jesus said that. like
Not
like
Jesus, people.
right. It's like come on, Katy Perry, really? Like she's saying it as if it's like some wise wisdom or whatever. My father told me the truth will set you free. It's like that was a line that Jesus said in the
Mm.
Bible.
So,
Like
fun fact here.
what?
Maybe there's some deep lore there because you know she's the daughter of like a preacher or a pastor.
Sure, fine.
Just saying.
I don't think that that's what the I don't think that the line was about looking at someone's phone history. That's it's I, that's kind of my point. I think it's a silly application of it. But regardless, okay, coming back around, bringing it. Oh shit, what was I gonna say? What were we talking about? Damn it. Um, we were talking about bringing the discussion full circle. I was about to make the best point ever, and then okay, I think I know what I was going to say. What I was going to say is I want people to try to think about music like this. I think this is actually like super important, and this is kind of the podcast itself, and like what I want to put out to people is that you can look at a song and it is okay to say like that didn't live up to expectations or that's not good. And I think that we need to start trying, and even though you might not be able to explain it, well, first off, if you can't explain it, I think it's worth trying to figure out what it is and put some mental effort towards it. And like, well, why don't I like that? And what is wrong with it? And I think that, you know, going back to the beginning of this discussion about like talking about media and movies and video games and how we're all getting sick of bad things, I feel like music falls under that umbrella, but I don't think that we look at it like this. And I don't understand why, and that's why I want us to try to. Even if you can't correctly like identify why something isn't good, or even like, oh, this is mid. Well, it's like, well, why is it mid? And what would be considered not mid? Like, what could they have done that might not make it so bland, right? It's like just thinking about music like that, that's the message. Like that's kind of what I would like to see more of. Because I do, you know, even like this discussion, like you and I are super on the same page when it comes to music in general, right? Like we're texting each other during new Avenged Sevenfold album releases and stuff. And it's like we can
But I
appreciate.
hate Guns N' Roses.
Well, so here's the thing though, and this is like, I think this discussion is really good because I think we could have a discussion about like, well, is Guns N' Roses objectively bad or is it just personal preference?
No, it's personal preference.
See, so then
Yeah.
so I think that could be an interesting discussion though, because then we could explore like maybe why you don't like them and what it could be and all that. Anyway, but my point being is like just just trying to find some type of rational standard for the music you listen to and like trying to understand, well, why do I like this? You know, beyond just I think it's cool or it resonates with me. It's like, but why? What about the melody? Like, and it could be a musical song. It doesn't even have to have lyrics. It's like I love Polyphia songs. Why do I love those Polyphia songs? Because I think they do things on guitar. They make sounds with the guitar that are unheard of from most other guitarists. The melodies and the notes and the rhythms that they choose are extraordinarily unique. The way that they mix and layer their instruments together is very interesting. Like I could sit and explain the actual art and why I like the art, not just, oh, I heard this at a time when I was really in the mood to listen to something like this. It's like, I think that more people should try to think about music like that, because I think that's how we raise the standard for the music, right? Like, do you remember back in like the early 2000s? I just remember having these discussions, right, about like who the best metal band was and who was better at what, right? And like, oh, you know, Bullet for My Valentine, like, is the new Bullet for My Valentine album better than the new Atreyu album? Or is the new Avenged Sevenfold album as good as the new Disturbed album? I mean, I never questioned that. Avenged Sevenfold was always better, but you get what I mean. It's like,
Right.
do you prefer Disturbed or Atreyu? And then we'd sit and we'd talk about those two bands and like compare them and contrast them, right? And I don't know, I feel like that's something that's kind of lost. And I feel like the artists themselves were doing that to a degree, so there was like this little bit of competition there, like we've got to be better than the other guys, like we got to beat those bands, right? And you know, I think that that's kind of gotten lost, and sometimes I personally I feel like I'm out on this island being like I still do that and nobody else does. It's so
Guys.
guys, are we still talking about, are we still having these conversations? So anyway, point being, um you know, analyze your music. Like if you watched a movie recently and you thought that was a stupid movie because of this and this, listen to a song and then think that was a great song because why? Because of this and this. Or that was a bad song. Why do I think that was a bad song? And is it me that thinks that? Is it just a personal preference, or is it something that the song's actually doing that makes me think it's bad? Because that, you know, truthfully, there's lots of times where I'll listen to a song and think that was pretty shitty, But then I look at it and think about it more, and I'm like, well, honestly, like there's some cool stuff in that song. Like maybe I was too harsh on it, you know? So that's my message. That's my spiel. What do you think?
Well,
Any closing thoughts on our discussion?
I think all music simultaneously good and terrible at the same time.
Boo. Boo. Boo.
Uh,
All right. Cool, cool. Well, that was a good talk. I enjoyed that. I think that would be worth doing, next time though, looking at an instrumental piece.
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Maybe we need to start looking at into like the science of music, why it makes it feel certain things.
I think that'd be worth it too.
I don't even know where to begin. Well,
We'll
I know
yeah,
that's like on the list of episodes, but it's gonna be like it's gonna take a while, I think, to flesh
research.
out.
I think
Yeah,
I think we still have plenty to talk about with just this topic alone of like good
yeah,
music versus like how to judge music or what is good music or if there even is such a thing as like good or bad music objectively. But
yeah.
maybe we do like an episode next week on like uh what was I gonna say on like instrumental music or something, and then
Yeah.
we'll do we'll maybe give us an extra week or two or something to do some research.
Well, we also gotta address the 70s, which I don't think we can address next week because there's just music to listen to, I think, from the 70s. But also, I don't know that we could address science of music in a week either.
Yeah, we gotta start prepping our shit like a few weeks
Yeah.
in advance. Maybe we should do a schedule, get a schedule going for us, not the listener. You will never know. You'll never know what we're
Just
up to.
plot twist.
Yeah.
We never know either sometimes.
Ah. Well, I thought we were gonna be talking about Katy Perry in this episode. Yeah,
Shy of surprise.
right. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think that's about it. I left the listener. And do you have any other thoughts, real quick, before we get
Uh,
to the
I,
end?
my final thought was going to be the music is at all
Yeah.
times great and bad at the same time. It's like
Yes.
Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's
Schrodinger's
song,
cat. Music.
alive and dead.
Music is alive or dead, and dead until you open up the box and put the CD in the player and listen to it. So yeah.
God, people never know it have touched a CD after we hit a certain point.
I feel like they're gonna come back. I mean, aren't the cassettes back? Like vinyls were back last decade. This decade, cassettes are back
Eh,
right now, dude. Like Billie Eilish, she's got cassettes and shit. Like cassettes are the new hotness. So
it's so dumb.
you say it's dumb. That's because we had cassettes. Like that was like something that we actually had. But to the 14-year-olds, they think it's cool. Like having the cassettes, the 90s vibe, like 10 things I hate about you. Like that's their vibe, dude. Next decade 2030s, that's when CDs will be popular again, so get ready.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here. All right, you want to
I
leave them with
never,
the oh, what were you gonna say?
I never want to go back to needing anything but my phone to listen to music.
Such a millennial thing to say, dude.
I listen to a lot of music. I still have all my old CDs and like, the 500 CD count thing.
See, the hipsters would say that you can't match the quality
They don't even
of a
have,
great
first of
vinyl.
all, cars don't even fucking have CD players anymore nowadays. Like those not stock.
Yeah, dude, we don't. No one's listening to CDs in their car. They're listening to it on their
Hell, they don't
CD
have a
player at
fucking
home.
cassette. They don't have fucking cassette players either.
Yeah, they do. They,
Not in the cars.
Are cassette players being sold now? I'm sure they are.
Oh, I'm sure. No, I was talking about just in the cars,
Well, yeah,
like
but
in vehicles.
that's well. Here's the thing: it's only for the vibe, dude. Like they don't.
Yeah, I know.
It's all
And
the
also,
vibe.
here's my problem. Here's my problem with all the vinyl people for like the past decade, right?
Oh shit.
You're fucking dumb because so many of those vinyls are just the MP3s pressed onto the vinyl. So it's the same audio quality.
No, Aubrey, it actually hits frequencies that are very different and more sonically pleasing and all that.
No, no.
I never.
Playing
It's
playing through your shitty ass speakers
damn.
probably too.
We've got a vinyl hater here.
I am a vinyl hater.
Yeah, actually, that kind of
I
does.
know it's no, I take that back. I'm not a vinyl hater. I'm a vinyl hater of the people who listen to vinyl like and don't actually understand. They're literally just listening to an MP3
It,
file on a vinyl CD or
it's
on a vinyl record.
it's funny that you say that
That's what drives me bonkers.
because actually, when you plug vinyls into speakers, it's like basically the same thing. The whole point of the vinyl was that you were able to attach like a little horn thing to
Yes.
it, and so
Yes.
the sound would resonate out of the horn, and that's how you get the more
Yes.
natural sound.
Yes. So if you're
So
gonna listen to vinyl, do it right, kids.
yeah, go get a
Not just
horn,
kids, people, everybody.
big old piece of iron, and craft it into a horn and attach it to your electronic vinyl player.
Oh,
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah,
that is a hot take.
the e-girls are all they got their cassette players now. Like the e-girls and the e-boys, that's the thing. The cassette players.
Next, we're gonna be bringing back the Game Boy Colors.
Bro, I wouldn't be surprised. Jenko jeans are back. It all comes back around.
We're going back to the original Xbox.
Shit. What was that? What was it all called?
We're gonna start over.
Fruitager Arrow. That was the name of like that art style of like the early 2000s with like the suns or the like very blue skies and clear see-through controllers and stuff. It's called like Fruitager Arrow. You know what I'm talking about?
I've not heard that, but I know what you're talking about.
Like that general
It's
style.
funnily enough, they just released the see-through Xbox controller for the Xbox
Yeah,
One, and I was like, oh man, that is some old school feels right there.
I'm telling you, dude, we're going back to it's coming back around pretty soon. Pretty soon, we're gonna have CD players again.
Just,
Everyone's gonna have
just
CDs.
like the 20s, we're headed for another Great Depression.
Shit, we're coming out of a fucking Great Depression, basically. Anyway, okay, hold on, never mind. Anyway, back. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Yeah, this was a good one. Cool. You have a little factoid for him before we go?
Factoid for the day. No, I really like music is simultaneously good and bad at the same time.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a bunch of hogwash, but sure. You hippie.
I mean, you want to provide them with your fact, Cam?
My fact, music can be bad or good. You can have a bad song. It's
Nope,
okay to
it's
call a
always
song bad.
both.
No, it's
It's
not.
always
No,
both.
don't listen to Aubrey. It's okay, kids. You can call a song bad, and you can also call a song good and say that you're objectively right. Boom. And I am objectively right by saying that.
That's what he thinks.
Aubrey's like, that's just your opinion, man.
But you know what's not my opinion?
What?
How to end this episode.
All right, let's do it. Wale!
Wale!